Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Jason West, and we are doing a fantastic show tonight on beating fatigue. Like, this is part 3. So we talked about chronic fatigue and infections and Epstein-Barr, but it's the number one reason why people don't feel very well. And so this is natural treatments for energy part 3. It's just a heck of a show. And I'm so excited to share with you like gobs and gobs of information that can help you at home to be better, to feel better, to perform better, to brain fog, what to do when it comes to energy production. When I started this process, literally, like I committed to doing the show no matter what, come hell or high water. About a year ago, I'm like, you know what? There's going to be times where it's going to be hard to put together because of patient schedules or commitments. But this show, you guys, it's one of my best. It might be the best show that I've ever done. It's all about chronic fatigue and natural treatments for it, what you can do at home. And some of the treatments are really simple. And I have people that won't believe me because they're that simple. And you can see in our patient success stories, like Lily's story, when I was saying, you got to get your body on a schedule because your body's out of control. And she was like, oh, it can't be that simple. And then I'm going to talk you through some advanced therapies, what you can do at home, some really important things like the miracle mineral you need to know about, the poison remover, the fire extinguisher. We're going to be talking about these supplements like they're available. You know what? Some of these I bet you are in your house right now. And some patients, you prescribe a program and then they start using it and they're like, I feel pretty good. So they're like me, like I've done this. Oh, well, I don't need to take it anymore. Like I've been hammering the vitamin D so that I don't get sick. And then, you know what? I haven't taken it as faithfully as he should. So this is not a thing where I'm telling everybody, oh, this is how you do it because I do it. I need to hear this myself. But we've got a dynamite show on tap, and I just got tons and tons of resources. We've got a free 53-page book on why we get sick and what to do about it. Like, I'm so excited to share that with you. It's literally, this is going to be our best show. So let me bring up the presentation. Why I called it this is because I just don't feel right. This is what happens when people come in and they're like, hey, I've got carpal tunnel or I've got back problems. And then I'll say, well, what else is wrong? Well, I'm tired. I'm not really sick. I've done some blood tests. My doc says I'm fine and I just don't feel right. So this presentation is for those people. It's not necessarily a disease like mononucleosis or adrenal exhaustion or cardiac fatigue or some of the other kind of more common causes of anemia is another one. A post-traumatic stress disorder causes a horrible amount of fatigue. Lyme disease, like there's all these things that cause fatigue. This presentation is for someone that's like, you know what? I just don't feel as sharp as I used to. And I'm going to say it's the vast majority of people. Like, it's got to be 80% or more of people. And the reason why people get sick is this is the beginning. So if you're one of those people that is like, look, I'm not really sick, but I don't feel right, this presentation's for you, which, by the way, there's no hard sell or anything in this. Like, I'm just trying to provide information for people. So if you're watching this, I have a couple requests. Number one, if you think someone benefits from this, please share it with them. The next thing is, if you would like or comment, sometimes I feel like I don't know if anybody's paying attention to some of the live casts. Like, I got my hardcore people that tell me every week, and they're always special to me because they come in and they're like, hey, Dr. West, I saw your presentation on heart problems or arthritis, or I saw your presentation on hormone imbalance, and really meant, like, I always have those people. But I also have had 2 people this week say, look, I never miss. And I'm like, well, how come you don't comment? Well, you should comment. So give me a shout out. And by the way, if there's a topic that is something that we need to address, put it in the comments section. I'd love to eventually pick it up. But anyway, this presentation's for the people that keep asking about it. So let's pick this up and let's get into it. I want to talk about a couple sponsors real quick as we go through. But by the way, you guys, this is my secret weapon. This is our team. We call it the Backhaul Miracle Team. This is Dr. Nelson, and this is Shelby, our medical director, and myself. Like, we solve a lot of complicated, complex problems. Nothing easy ever comes into our office. No one comes in and says, hey, Dr. West, I need a hangnail. What they come in and they'll say, I've tried everything. the prescriptions are no longer working for me, or I don't like the side effects, or I've tried every nutritional lotion, potion, herb, homeopathic thing that I can think of. It's not getting better. And I rally with my team and I get back in that back hall. I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. So 3 eggheads are always hammering at this. And so I really, those guys are super special to me. Also, on the back hall is the team. So I just wanted to give a big shout out to our team. This is one of our patients from Kansas City. She's been staying with us for the last 10 days. Cory, this is her show. I'm giving a sponsorship, even though she's not a sponsor. Cory, thank you so much for changing our lives and us impacting you. And she's a rabid Kansas City Chiefs fan, and we still like her. And so I say that just teasingly because she just loves them. Anyway, what a great picture that we have for her. And then also a big shout out to my pops. My pop's no longer with us, but we started a doctor training program called Henry's Guild, where we're training patients across the country to be able to provide some of the services that we've been using for 106 years. But let's get right into fatigue. And I want to tell you guys about this. I'm going to touch about this basically. This is personalized organs, tissues, and cells. This is the sponsor of this show that tells us like what we can use to remove poison. And I'm going to get to that at the end. And there's a lot of things that people have in their cupboards that they can use that I just want you to be aware of. And so many times people say, you know what, I have that in my on my shelf. I have some iodine. I have some vitamin D3. I have some vitamin E. I have some vitamin A that's on the shelf. And so I'm not trying to substitute for any doctor-patient relationship, but I just want to go in and hammer fatigue. Okay, so if you guys are just joining us, there's so many different causes of fatigue, but the reason why I wanted to do this one, which is I'm not sick, I just don't feel right, because it's so frustrating to me when patients come in and they're like, you know what, I went and I told, the urgent care, or I told my, my family doctor, and he said, okay, let's up your thyroid medicine, or you need to move more, or you need to eat better. And it's so frustrating when I hear some of those stories because it's good advice and it's really hard to implement. Like when we tell say, so, and I've been guilty of this, hey, eat better. And we don't give them a structure. We don't give them, hey, this is how you get food to taste good. That's why we wrote a book called The Clean Eating Guide. It's available as one of the free resources. If you're over on our drjasonwest.live, if you go over there, it's a free registration. You get all the resources, you get the free book, and you can also get that guide about how to get healthy food to eat to taste better. And that's one of the most important things of eating right. So going back to the presentation right here, fatigue. Like there's so many different things it can be. So I just decided I'm going to start with the basics, and I'm going to start with people that don't have Lyme disease, that they don't have a chronic infection or Epstein-Barr or an autoimmune disorder, or they're just coming off chemotherapy or radiation. This isn't really for them. This is for the 80% of people that are starting in the disease pathway. Now, what do I mean by that? I have a hero, Dr. Tom Levy, that wrote a book called Curing the Incurable. It's a great big Bible that we use in the side of our office, and I just love it. And the Cliff Notes version is this: when people run out of energy, they have a symptom that starts that can lead to a disease process. Like energy is the key to health. And this is why we keep saying over and over and over again, like out of all the things that you have in life, health is the most important one. Because if you have that, you can always work harder. You can always have a relationship. You can always have a hobby. When you lose your health and you lose your energy, the people have become, they just lose their ambition. They become disinterested, and you start on this pathway that I think leads to a couch potato, which is the lack of movement is a really, really big problem. And then we can turn to emotional eating. We can turn to carbohydrates that fire off some of those neurotransmitter centers, and it's just not healthy. And it all starts from lack of energy. So let me jump into this. This is when you are not sick, but you're not healthy either. This is, and when we talk about that, people will tell me, well, I'm not on the bed, on the couch. I'm not like, I don't have a fever. I'm not, in the bathtub popping aspirin or taking antibiotics or anything. Man, I don't feel right. Well, we got to get back. We got to get that mojo back. And so the energy that we're missing, I think it really comes or really starts a couple different conditions like chronic infection, chronic staph infections, chronic Epstein-Barr, herpes simplex 1, which is the cold sore virus, the chickenpox virus, cytomeglia, uh, E. coli, like all of these things you need to evaluate. And we've talked about that in previous sessions of doing a blood count or doing a blood test and getting a complete blood cell count and looking at your white blood cells and your bacterial fighters and your viral fighters. Like that gives us so much information, number one. And so looking at these different things is the next thing occurs is fatigue. A lot of stomach and digestive problems are because we're not getting the nutrients into our system or we're not breaking them down. And then what happens is our brains stop working. So this, I'm not sick, but I don't feel very good either. Like it's just the beginning of a disease pathway. So how do we get it to work better? Well, I think we do this. It's knowing the rules. So when people come in and they go to work with us, we just have to like review the basics, which all of us need to follow. Number one is, and I say this in a religious sense, deviation from a commandment or God's law, we call that a sin. What do you do to put your life back in order? You repent or you change. Well, that's the same thing with the laws of biology. If you deviate from the laws of biology, you get a symptom, and symptoms aren't necessarily bad. They're warning signals. If you don't pay attention to the symptoms, what happens is you get a sickness. So we just got to put some rules back in place. And some of the rules that are so simple that make our bodies literally go out of order is we don't treat our bodies right. So many times people will come in and they'll say, look, I can't sleep. So I watch TV. I don't feel energy in the morning. So I skip breakfast and I run out and I get a coffee and a donut, or I get some orange juice and a bagel, or I get something fast. And what happens is we're just setting up an energy deficit for later. And a lot of times when people say, well, I don't feel like eating breakfast, it's because we developed a bad habit. We should be fueling our system in the morning. And I'm aware of the rules of intermittent fasting and some other, I think that's a different criteria. And I'm aware of certain medications that you can only take in the morning that people say, like, I just don't feel very good. But so many times people are like, you know what? I just rather eat than going out and getting a stick to your ribs breakfast. And a stick to your ribs breakfast, I think it's so good to have some protein, to have some fruit, to have some type of cooked cereal, anything that comes out of a box in the morning. Like, please, like, don't eat that. Like, it's just fake carbs. You need something that is going to be really stick to your ribs. Some vegetables and eggs. I think that's great, unless you have an egg allergy. And when people say, I don't feel like eating breakfast, please, like, just try this. Just try fueling your body right in the morning and see what happens. That's one rule. The next rule is, you know, you are what you eat and you are what you absorb. And so there's this, it is healthy and alive foods. If you eat healthy and alive foods, then you are going to be healthy and alive foods. When we eat foods that are pre-digested, prefabricated, nuked, like, there's so many horrible foods that literally have no nutritional value. I call those empty carb foods that are really, really hurting us. They're not helping. And if you think about, like, the food industry is just like every other industry. They want to make a profit, and there's so many foods out there that make profits, but they're not healthy to the consumer. So the closer to the ground your food is, the healthier you are. So you get a carrot out of the ground and you can eat it. Like, that's a healthy source of vitamin A and carotene and fiber. If you take that carrot and you turn it into carrot cake, now we have an unhealthy food. So that's what I mean by getting your food healthy to the ground. Okay, so when you have a fatigue issue and we put the rules in place, we say, go to bed at the same time, you got to get up at the same time, you got to get water, you got to avoid drinking acid. And then people say, well, I'm not drinking acid. Well, that's the 55 gallons of carbonic acid that people are drinking every day. In America, average 55 gallons of soda pop or energy drinks or something fizzy. Like our bodies aren't meant to have that much acid. We already have acid in the stomach, and then we dump more acid in it to get some energy because we're lacking some vitamins and minerals and essential fatty acids. And so, like, I want to get away from that and put some better healthy stuff in the system. People say, well, what is that? Well, it's water. And people say, well, I don't like water. Okay, well, you're not going to be healthy if we it's like the Tin Man on the Wizard of Oz. If you don't have enough water, you're going to be rusty. If you've put the rules of health in place and you're still not feeling right, what I would recommend is having a workup. And inside of the workup, the most important part of a workup is the patient history. We're looking at the blood test, checking hormones. I had a patient come in the other day that said, I went to my doctor and I said, I just don't feel right. My libido's off. I'm gaining weight around the waist. I'm on, a really restricted calorie diet and I'm gaining weight. I'm like, that's such a classic hormone profile. My doctor said, I don't believe in hormones. I don't believe in testing for hormones. I'm like, well, that's tragic. We should be testing hormones just like you're looking at the oil and the antifreeze and the wiper fluid in your car. Like, you just need to evaluate it about every 12 to 18 months. I used to think, and I apologize to everybody, like, all prescriptions are bad. No one should be taking prescriptions because everybody should be healthy. That's obviously very narrow-minded thinking, because there's some important prescriptive therapy and drug therapy that are life-saving and people really need them. But we need to evaluate the prescription list. And also, on the flip side, so many times people are taking too many supplements or the wrong supplements. So what I tell people is, you know what supplements are? It's food insurance. It's in case we don't pick up the zinc that we need, or the selenium, or the potassium, or the vitamin A, or B5, or B6. So, like, that's what you should use supplements for. And if you do a blood test and you're missing something, that might be a good consideration. But so many times people will come in and they're like, hey, I got 20 supplements that I'm taking. And I can relate to that because I'm a closet hypochondriac. I don't want anything that comes into my office. Like, I'm trying to skip it. I don't want gray hair and wrinkles. And I don't want to lose a muscle integrity or have brain fog. And so I read about phosphatidylcholine, phosphatidylserine. I read about kava kava and Jemima and ginkgo. And oh yeah, I need to take that. I need to take that. You know what your best source of supplements are? Is it's your knife and fork. So if you're eating as healthy as possible, like, you're going to do so much better than if you're trying to supplement it. But so many times people are taking things. Oh, my neighbor told me to take this, and my cousin told me to take this, and the waitress told me to take this, and I was at the convenience store. Someone told me that I should be taking a whole bunch of ubiquinone for energy, and all of those have a place, but only if you know what they are and what you are taking them there. And then the other thing that's really nice to know in a patient workup for fatigue is, what treatments have you tried that didn't work? Because if they worked, like, you wouldn't be going into the doctor, or you wouldn't be sitting in front of me or another functional medicine specialist. And you don't want to repeat what hasn't worked. And then the goal is this: you want to balance everything. This, I believe, is the key to health. So when people come in and say, hey, Dr. West, I want to know what you can do for chronic Lyme or post-treatment Lyme disease syndrome or an autoimmune disorder or a stomach problem or a peripheral neuropathy or macular degeneration or infertility issues, and these are things that I'm seeing every single day, the answer is always the same. We got to find out what you're missing. We got to test the hormones. We got to look at the blood. We got to evaluate the lives, and then we got to put everything in balance. And in some people, it's biochemistry. And so body work therapy, physiologic therapeutics, a rehab program, exercise. Other times it's energy, and it's acupuncture, and it's neural therapy, and it's getting your emotions straight, and it's having a stress management. Other people, it's an infusion, a vitamin C infusion, because we're missing building blocks, or a hormone assessment, or hormone precursors, or prescriptive therapy, or in other cases, it's a surgical referral. But we've got to find out what it is so that we can get people balanced. And I just love this, funny little caricature of someone. Hey, what am I supposed to do with all of this stuff? Well, we want to get balanced. That's what we want to do. And then some treatments that are available. I want to go through these, fairly rapidly, but here they are: food, water, rest, stress management. Stress is not a disease. It just makes everything worse. And when people say, give me something so that I don't have stress, well, we can't really do that. I mean, we could put you in a plastic bubble or in solitary confinement and try and take away all of these external stimuli. The key to the stress is the management. So big shout out to David Hawkins, who is one of my heroes. He was a medical doctor and he had a PhD, he's double doctorate. As a psychiatrist, wrote a book called Letting Go, which is one of the best books I've ever read about what to do with stress and how we recognize, like, we have a plate of problems every day that we get. And if we allow the external environment or, unfortunately, other people to put problems on our plate, then the plate overflows. So one of the things we have to be aware of is, like, I have problems. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all trying to manage life, to de-stress, to have healthy relationships, to have a good health. Like, we're all trying to do that. And when we allow other people to put stuff on our plate, then what happens is there's not enough room. So that's whole part of letting go. That's why it's so important to have some type of de-stressor in your life. That is praying, journaling, meditation, deep breathing, going on a walk, going on a drive, playing a musical instrument, listening musical instrument. One of my favorite things to de-stress is I used to feel guilty about this because my mom and dad have this, work thing. Everybody work, 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 work. Don't take vacation because only lazy people take vacation. And apologize to any vacation listeners. That's kind of the mindset I grew up. My dad loved to work, but he was absolutely a workaholic. And it wasn't until my wife was saying, hey, wait a minute, like, we need to have some time to recharge the batteries, that you recognize, like, it's healthy to have some parameters. It's just like getting your body balanced. You got to get your life balanced. Anyway, letting go, biology of belief, such good resources for that. But so those are some of the rules to start: stress management and rest. The next thing, when we looking at how to get people energy back, is it's this: we have some nutritional therapy considerations, some prescriptive therapy review. So many times people are treating one thing with the prescriptions and it's causing an accidental side effect. One example of this is, so many times blood pressure medicines, they can cause, problems with male health and erectile dysfunction. Other type of medicines, antacids, can cause breathing problems. A certain type of angiology can cause B vitamin deficiencies. So we just need to review that with someone that's adept in a prescriptive therapy program, and then also reviewing supplements. Guess what? They get us abused just like prescriptive medicines. And when I say abused, people taking them accidentally or taking the inappropriate, too high, too low, and too many different supplements. So we want to get all of that coordinated. Now, an advanced treatment that is my very favorite. This is my favorite thing to offer people that have fatigue. And again, this is for people that are like I just want to boost. I treat a lot of high performing executives and athletes that say, look, I just need to do something. And that is this: my favorite thing to offer people that are fatigued is vitamin infusion therapy. I just love being able to skip the stomach and use vitamin C and magnesium and potassium and B5 and B6 and B12, because it really helps to heal the body from the inside out. And my clinical experience is, when people particularly have stomach problems, this is the treatment that makes the biggest difference. Vitamin infusion therapy. There's no steroids or antibiotics or anything like that. It's just getting a higher concentration gradient so that we can push basically the vitamin C, the electron donors, the magnesium and everything into people that helps them. Okay, this is signifies the nerves and the neurotransmitter system. And you know what happens with the nervous system is, so many times it gets a memory. And I like that. Sorry, I need to switch over to this view. So many times the nervous system accepts not feeling very well as normal. So everybody wants to live up here, right? Like we want to live at the highest level, optimal health. Death is down here. And so many times when people have been sick or they're losing energy for a time, their nervous system thinks that's normal. Call that a nerve memory. And it happens if the body's been injured, like trauma. If every once in a while a roper guy will come in, it's out practicing roping, gets a rope caught around his finger. The cow takes off and pulls their finger off. And they'll be like, hey, my fingers kill me, even though it's not attached to the body. We call that phantom limb syndrome. It can happen with phantom gallbladder syndrome, and it can happen with infection. Like sometimes people will get a shingles infection, the infection goes away, and the nerve's still irritated. We call that post-herpetic neuralgia. And we have this basically the stimuli inside of the nervous system is saying, I hurt, I hurt, I hurt, I hurt. Well, the same thing can happen with a heart problem or a stomach problem or hormone or autoimmune condition. And so if you can get the nerves to restart with a stress management program, with some energy medicine, some acupuncture, and my favorite way to help with the nerves is to do the neural therapy, which is the 100-year-old German treatment where we literally can take a little B vitamin in a small needle and you can inject these acupuncture and points around the body just on the surface and get things to reset. Excuse me. Now, it's not just me saying that. We have nearly 1,000 testimonials from people across the street, across the country, who were out of hope and out of time. And they go, and this is always part of their treatment program. Matter of fact, you can see those on Thursday night. Now, I like to put this up here because when we talk about fatigue, I just wanted to give a shout out to this. I told a patient today, you know what the ultimate way to be unhappy is? The ultimate way to be unhappy is to compare yourself to other people. So we always have a tendency to compare our, least effective version or unhappiest version to someone that is their happiest, that their best. And then we set up a recipe for feeling inadequate, for not liking ourselves, for saying, and I had this happen today. I had a patient that came in, wasn't feeling very well. I've been sick for 20 something years. I do everything right. I eat right. I follow a diet. I'm on a supplement program and I'm just struggling. And my spouse, and they pointed over, has Dr. Pepper and donuts, and he doesn't have anything. You know what? We looked at the blood in our medical research experiment. The patient had this super sticky rouleau formation, crinkles around, intracellular concern, like all of this stuff that we find in sick people. We did an evaluation on the spouse that has the Dr. Pepper and the donut. And guess what? His blood looked like literally perfect. And I got to tell the patient, I said, you know what happened? He won the genetic lottery. So if you want to have, unhappiness, you have to say, well, how come he can do that? I don't have the answer to that, but I know how you can be unhappy. And that's saying, well, why can't I be like that? We just got to live our own journey. That's why I put the slide in here about being the best version of you. Now, a couple things. If you're wondering how you can get healthy and want to do some work with us, here's how you do that. If you go to our website, West Clinic Online, and you click here on the schedule button, you can do some work with this if that appeals to you. The other thing that I would like to do is just to remind people with our class that we do this every Wednesday on a different issue. You can pick up the resources and everything that I'm talking about at drjasonwest.live. It's free. You can get a free ebook. And the ebook that we're doing this week is Why We Get Sick and What to Do About It, because it talks about the different types of energy deficiencies and how to help it. Now, we do have a special program at 7 o'clock. I called our Thrivers Tribe, and I see some people on here. Steve and Mary, I haven't seen you for a little bit. I'm so happy that you're here. I get to work with you at a higher level at our 7 o'clock. And we have a virtual office visit where I go in and I actually answer everybody's questions inside of our community. We call it our Thrivers Tribe. That's available. If you would like more information, you can contact the clinic on that. And so here's a couple really quick takeaways. So I wanted to make sure that I told people, look, there's something that you can do, that you can start. I mean, this is assuming you're getting enough water, get your body on a schedule, eating healthy as possible. Be aware that magnesium is the miracle mineral. It's a coenzyme or cofactor for 300 enzymatic reactions. N-acetylcysteine is my favorite poison remover. You know, we live in 2021 where there's poisons all over the place. It's in the environment, it's in the things that we touch and we breathe and when we eat and when we drink. So many health problems are because our blood sugar's out of control. I love recommending a blood sugar stabilizer. You know, cinnamon is one, Jemima is another. When people are craving sugar and carbs, it's usually because they don't have those things inside of their diet. Our adrenal glands, what those are, that's our fight or flight response glands. And so what happens if we walk outside and we see a bear, a snake, a tarantula, our breathing goes up, our pupils constrict, our heart rate goes up, and we are going to fight or faint or flee, you know, those F's that are in them. We've got to figure out what to do. And so many times people, because of finances or relationships or neighbors or weather or political stress or whatever, like they overwork the adrenal glands and then they don't work. They're tired. We don't have enough energy in the body. And then my very favorite thing to treat everything is vitamin C. I absolutely think vitamin C, let me get myself out of the way here. Vitamin C is so powerful as an electron donor. Now, a couple things, if you need a good source of those, it's on our resource page. A lot of times people have vitamin C in their office, they have vitamin A, they may have something to stabilize blood sugar. And if those resources available, take it. If not, if you need something for energy, this is a great place to start. It's on our Dr. Jason West Live resource page. And I think that that is everything that we've put together for this show. This is a program that was, I'm not really sick. I don't feel good. I wanted to give you some resources. I'm excited to take it a step further inside of our Thrivers Tribe. We do a Zoom conference call with select people inside of our office that are part of our Thrivers program. And it's a virtual office visit. We would go more in depth, make sure we ask any doctor and clinical questions. That's our Thrivers Tribe. If you would like information, then you need to get in contact with the office. Now, that's our program for tonight. Next week, we're going to keep hammering away on this fatigue thing. We've also got some heart considerations and how that involves in the heart and the adrenal problem. All of that together makes a healthy person. I'm Dr. Jason West. That's our program on I'm not really sick, but I don't feel good. If you've seen value, please leave us a comment or share, pick us up. A lot of times people say this on the replay. If you need to see parts 1 and 2, if you're registered over on our site, drjasonwest.live, then what happens, and it's going to put it up right here, is you can pick up parts 1, parts 2. I'm getting ready to take it up a higher level with our Thrivers Tribe, but I'll see you guys next week.